the finances. Lori, you're going to be in the picture.
Oh my gosh, thanks. Oh my gosh, you figured it out.
You can access that. But these documents that we're going to go over, you now have hard copies, but the soft copies are in there. And PowerPoint presentations are there as well. Okay, sorry. What's in there? What's not in there? So the PowerPoint that we just went over, and then the stuff that Denise just handed out, hard copies. The soft copies are now in there. Before we get started though with Denise, I just want to have David, he just told me a story.
Yes.
It's going to take 30 seconds.
Yes, tell the story.
The
Hey.
council needs to hear this because I thought it was pretty poignant.
When we talked about the Economic Development Summit, I forgot to mention, I met with Mike Sabulich and Jacobson Construction the other day. He's their business development director, and we all know that they were awarded the growth tower bid. Well, he met Daniel Thomas for the first time at the Economic Development Summit. He's the one who won the cupcakes when Daniel did the contest.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was just a fun little story that illustrates kind of the point of why we did that and some of the things that we're working with.
Okay, Denise, take it away.
First thing I'm going to start with is I actually received the GFOA Distinguished Budget Award yesterday for and thanks to all the directors, and Dave's been really good about making it not look like an account, a bunch of numbers. So we did receive that. I just got it yesterday afternoon. And the other funny thing is I haven't been able to find the plaque. So this is the third year that Pleasant Grove has received it. I've looked everywhere for a plaque. It didn't make any sense. So I emailed them yesterday, and it was just an oversight. So they'll be sending us a plaque so we can display the 3 years, 14, 15, and 16 that we won.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a Denise house on the wall.
Yeah, I'm sure that Dean has it. I did find out yesterday we never received it. And she'll be glad to see it on. And then the other thing is last year for the first time we did the PAFR. I think we got it done in about March. Dave and I are working on that right now. And so I would say in the next week or so, the PAFR will be completed for the FY 2016 fiscal year. And then one of our goals, Dave and I discussed this yesterday, we're going to try to certify that document.
I just sent you those in a
for the CAFR 17. So it's due the same time as the CAFR documents to the Government Financial Officers Association. So that's our goal for next year. So, the first, I gave you 4 sheets. We're going to start with the first sheet. This has 2 fiscal years. We're just going to talk about general funds today. The top one is where we ended up at the end of June 30th, 2016. Total revenues and transfers in, we're close to 12.5. Our expenditures and transfers out, just over 12 million. And so we actually have a change in fund balance of approximately 455,000. The recommendation that we'll talk about here in a minute is that we use those for capital projects as we move forward into our fiscal year, some in 17 and then some in 18. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And so we did have a good year. Our sales tax stayed strong, and some of the other things is we had some of the departments that didn't use didn't use all their budget, and that's very beneficial in helping us get some capital projects done. Just below that, I actually have a forecast. I should have put that these weren't audited, so that this does change, but right now things are still looking strong for the fiscal year 2017 that will end in June. If you see the number, you have a negative 217, 504. That's where we would show, that would be our net change in fund balance, but you have to take into consideration if we take the transfer from the general fund to capital equipment, the 455, 446. If we didn't do that, we'd actually be at 237, 942. That's why you see the 2 differences there. But that's been the past. That's one of our management guidelines that we use those excess dollars to do some capital projects the following fiscal year. So that's why I have the 2 different numbers there. One would be
in essence, what we're projecting at the end of 17 is that we'll have $237,000 available for capital.
For capital, exactly, yeah.
The 455 that we have for the end of 16, that's the best number we've had in a while.
I went back 3 years. Last year we only had, if you remember, we only had $114,000 that we could use. The year before, it was about 300, I think 13 was the, like 300-ish
Yeah.
year. So we were fortunate that we were going to be able to get some capital stuff done.
So again, I mean, Denise already hit on this, but this is a good thing for us. I mean, our sales tax is strong. It came in more than what we projected. That's a good thing. And then our department has been very good about if they have money left over in their budget in June, they just don't go out and go crazy and spend it. They know that if that money is going to roll back into capital, there's going to be a benefit to their department maybe, or just to the city in general.
When we say transfer into capital, does it go from unrestricted?
You're actually doing a physical transfer from general fund to a capital equipment, a complete different fund. So it
That's
would
when it becomes restricted.
be restricted in the other fund, yeah.
Not necessarily allocated to a specific
Project,
but in the capital fund.
It's going to be used for capital, if we ever want to transfer back out for anything.
we could.
So it's not restricted like Class C where you have to use it for one purpose. We can use this money for
So
it.
when we report that from a balance sheet perspective, you're going to show that under the restricted funds rather than the unrestricted funds.
Well,
No, it's going to be, it's going to completely go out of the general fund into another capital equipment fund. And then it would be,
So it won't show.
that's what you're saying. It
Yeah.
doesn't go into fund balance, which is unrestricted.
Right.
yeah,
It goes into capital and then we earmark it for specific.
So it has no effect on the 3%, 25%.
No. yeah. It's, once it's moved, it's in its own fund. And so, great information there. The next one is the budget timeline. And it kind of,
By the way,
yes, Mayor?
before we move on, congratulations to everyone, 500,000, under budget.
The next is just a budget timeline. I'm just going to talk about the first couple ones. It's sort of printed kind of weird on the color printer, but I think the biggest two things that we want to look at that Scott and I discussed is that we want to, on March 14th, in our work session, we'd like to have a budget portion on that and also on April 11th. And some of the biggest things for the department directors will be in the next week or so as we move into February, that I'll be getting the operational and capital improvement budget documents out to them with their updated numbers. They'll actually have actuals for 14, 15, 16, and a forecast for 17. And then we'll be working on the 5-year capital improvement packets, which that's mostly Marty and the enterprise funds. We will do some other ones, but that's mostly enterprise funds.
Can I jump in for a sec? Generally, how we've done it in the past is March 14th, we'll talk about our capital allocation, we'll talk about the personnel, we'll try to get that stuff resolved, probably more general fund. And then the 11th, generally speaking, that's when we focus on the utilities and capital projects. So that's kind of hard pass rule, but generally some of the utility rate stuff and reconciling the capital plans takes a little bit more time. And so again, as we present it and get feedback from the council, those are the two work sessions leading into LSD's going to take whatever it is May 2nd.
May 2nd, we're required by state code to present a proposed budget to the council. And so that'll just be the first Tuesday. And then as we move into June, you're not required to have 2 public hearings, but in the past we have. We can even have a public hearing in May if we're ready, but I don't have one here on the schedule for right now. I show the first public hearing would be June 6th. That's the first Tuesday.
Sorry, we generally don't have 2 public hearings. We did
Just
last
have
year.
one? Yeah, we did last year.
Because I can't remember, I don't know if it was for a couple particular rates, we wanted to have a specific public hearing. But generally speaking, we have 1 public hearing.
So,
We can, that's an option up to, just like last year, you guys said we wanted to have a specific public hearing, and we scheduled it, and that's fine. I'm just saying, in years past, it's just been a month arbitrary. When we get to that point, we'll have that.
And June 20th, we would have to adopt what we're,
I think on April 11th, when we're done with that work session, we'll know if you want to do something like that.
and the June 20th would be our drop dead to adopt. You have to adopt by June 22nd. We'd have to have a special meeting, so that would be the Tuesday in June.
And the strawberry day is the 14th? Okay, so we're going to make the next
done by then.
We're not going to mess up our public hearing. Okay.
And then I just have other dates on there that we'll just share that we have aware, not that there's been any talk about doing a truth in taxation, but if we do that, then we have additional hearings in July and we adopt in August, just to make you aware of it. If we choose not to, do the things, we don't have those meetings. And this will change as we move through, like Scott said, and I'll add some more detail, as we move forward with the budget work sessions and what we're gonna talk about, and things like that. So probably what everyone's been waiting for. The third paper is actually, Scott and I met it 2 days ago. It's pretty early, but tried to look at, as far as forecasting, looking at, where we ended up in 16, what we're doing in 17, moving forward into 18. In the past, we've called this the one pager, if everyone's familiar with that. Just two little boxes there. Right now, we're looking at total revenues being an increase from 17 of about $375,000. And then on the right-hand side, I've actually calculated a 2.5%, which is the 115,470 that we're looking at there. And right below that, I have a 2% amount number, but in the total calculation, I'm using the 2.5 just to make you aware of it, but that's what the 2 would be. We did 2% last year. One is the cost of living, one is merit. And so just to,
We've done 2% probably the last 3 or 4 years. I asked Denise to put a 2.5 just so the council can see what that looks like. It's an extra $23,000 for us to move from the 2% to the 2.5.
23,000.
And that's permanent.
Yeah, then that's ongoing.
That's on the budget. And I don't know, Denise, do you want to keep talking about what we haven't put in?
Yeah. And so then, and that was for full-time and part-time staff. That 2.5 would cover bumping the part-time, permanent part-time. Yeah. So that's included in there. And then in benefits, that's kind of a mixed package because when you raise salary and wages, even though our retirement numbers are consistent, we're not getting an increase in retirement numbers, but our benefit package does go up because we have to, people are making more money in our percentage of that. So the benefit includes a 10.9% increase in insurance and FICA and the additional changes in FICA and retirement based on the salary increase. We don't know what our insurance increase is right now. That was something that United Health said it would not be more than that.
They committed to.
Yeah, and so we kind of talking about that. You actually have to be with your new benefit provider a year to be able to get use of information to find out what your claims were and that type of stuff. So we're getting
We're
close.
using our year with GPS as our broker.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to access all of the usage reports over the last year when they go and talk to United Healthcare about the renewal amount. So max 10.9, but they're now just starting the process to see if it can be lower.
So that, I mean, there's a good chance that that could maybe go down a little bit based on what our insurance use was this past year. So that number, we probably won't have a really good number, I'd say until March possibly. But we'll be working on that with them. But the max that they told us that we would get would be a 10.9. So basically right now we're looking at that we have about $150,000 of unallocated dollars. I'm still working with the directors. I met with Scott. Right now, our supplementaries are close to $1 million. And so,
That's the request.
the requests are at about $1 million, about half of that is capital, about half of that is operational. So we're still working through that, and we have $150,000 to put towards, those requests.
So you've got fire retention on here?
Fire retention, Dave mentioned that earlier, I visited with Dave a little bit. We don't have a number for that, that's just something that we'd like to do, we just don't know what the cost will be at this
The
time.
reason we have that listed specifically is we can get into that last year. So even though we don't have the cost, we know that's something that is probably first priority to fund. And then everything, because that will reduce our 150 and then we'll hit the other supplementals at that point and come back with a recommendation for the city council.
So back when I went to 2% or 2.5,
Yeah.
what are our cities?
I haven't looked at that. I know Provo, where I came from, they stopped the cost of living about 5 years ago, and they went to a 14-step, which is 2.5%. And I could do some checking with other cities, but like I said, Provo, where I came from, would be 2.5.
As of today, every city's kind of where we're at, and that is they're just starting to figure out what their number is.
Yeah.
So we can, and
But I could
generally what we do is probably about February, we'll send an email out and get it.
Yeah. I mean, I can start working on that, see what others are
And
doing.
then we need to fill in fire retention if it's priority, before we take from the 150.
Yeah.
That's the intent,
Yeah.
yes.
And don't forget the library will have 128 hours to stack downstairs.
That's on your list. You know.
You're part of the 500? They're part of the 500. I didn't delete any of them, even though I wanted to, a couple of them, right, Thomas?
Was that again in line?
Well, you bring him in, going, I don't know why I'm bringing these, you're not even gonna look. I looked at every one of them.
Hey, so these guys, this 150 is gonna be allocated between $1 million, except the million was split between capital and the.
Yeah, so this,
We have 455,000 for capital, is that different capital?
no, so the $1 million is just what the requests are, and it's about 50-50. So
Right.
most likely, this would just go for operational, the 150,
Right, okay.
and then, like you said, we'll have the other dollars.
Yeah, so.
So we're really
it's a good
for-
point. The capital, I think it's about 600,000 for capital. We revised the list. Some of you lost stuff already, you don't know.
Hey, no, I didn't take anything out.
But we have the 455 is going to go towards about $500,000 worth of capital needs, and then we have 150 going towards the $500,000. Most of it ongoing is personnel.
Right.
So the only one that we actually did take off was the street lights that we're gonna talk about tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the number was bigger, but that's the street light purchase from Rocky Mountain.
Tomorrow's not good, so.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. So that was
Cut off all of Marty's stuff.
Yeah, we're just gonna take off Marty's stuff.
What happened to the old show?
And so I still think it's good news to have, a little bit that we can work with, even though it's still high, but, we want to be conservative about how we use that. And like I said, some of these things will change a little. I got sales tax late yesterday, but it doesn't move my forecast right now. Now that said, that was November's sales tax.
So December's always a big number, and that gives us.
Yeah. So I just got November's yesterday, and then, so yeah,
That's not reflected.
that's not, no, November's is reflected in here, but December may be a better month for us, and I won't get those until end of next month.
It's just as we get further in the year, like even 3 months from now,
Mhm.
we can get easier on sales tax because we have now 3 more months of trend. And so right now we have whatever we're trending at.
Yeah.
So we can refine that, and generally we do, because if we see any sort of upward trend, then that number will come up and that will free a little bit more money for the
Well, and even in March, you get your final property tax. And sometimes, you'll see what the growth is too a little bit. So even right now, like our property tax, will change a little bit, but not tons, because we won't even get that final distribution until, March.
So the 455 number could change.
No, the
No.
455 set, it's the 150 number here. This, because on the revenue side, those numbers could go up as we get more data. And as those numbers go up, and now frees up more money to, for some of the needs that the department has.
So we're talking fiscal 17, the numbers might go up on the revenue.
No, we're talking, yeah, in 17, I may see them come up, which would change my forecast for 18, yeah.
Which means the leftover that you have on the previous page could be higher.
No, the leftovers from 16.
Only 16.
Only the six,
And I think that what you're saying is when you go back to the previous page and you look at our 17 forecast.
yeah, that could be higher,
237, that's the number that you can go up.
yeah.
But that's really for something.
That's eventually going to become capital for our.
Right, where it goes over the capital,
Yeah.
and that's how you're covering to something in that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that number could actually, the revenue side could actually go up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're going to refine the requests from the departments, both on operations and capital. So when we look at this again next month and the month after, we could be looking at different numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
likely in
yeah.
March, we'll have a list of, here's what we recommend the staff for capital to fund, and here's how much we have, and here's what we recommend for the operational support to fund. And so, yeah, like the department heads will get that all prioritized, and then we'll give you guys a chance to say, you guys have to go here or here or whatever.
So is staff, you guys put in your requests for operational increases and capital increases, do you have like priorities listed? And then you all submit them, and then how do you arbitrate which ones go into this?
Yeah, so generally.
If you show up to the meeting or not.
So Denise had all the requests, and then Denise and I go through, and we'll kind of set, I don't know if it's our priorities, but maybe get a feel for where we would like to see it go, and then we do bring it back to the department heads, and then we just discuss it. And sometimes it's, okay, we feel the money needs to go here, and I'll tell you, the department heads are really good, because we have been able to get through this year after year after year, and I've sat in some of these in the previous city where it became a bloodbath, and there was hurt feelings, and it just wasn't any fun, and we did pretty good. Everybody has needs in their departments, and we try to do the best we can, and I think we're pretty good about maybe trying to get the money where we think is the biggest need.
So there is an effort, a joint effort, by
Really is.
to say, yeah, that one's probably more important.
Yeah, we do that in one of our staff meetings, we basically go through.
Well, the other thing, Mayor, too, that the department directors, I'm still learning a lot of things about, as Chief Smith, him and I have been looking at the lease program and those type of things. So I'm still learning a lot of things. I mean, the directors are really good about coming in, and sometimes we go look pretty hard to be able to do things in current year, and we'll start to do that, like Leon and I, with the scrubber at the recreation center. We came in and we think we found, because some of these things just can't wait. I mean, they're on the list or whatever, and so the longer that I'm here, I think that will help too, where I can work better with the directors. Hopefully they feel the same, maybe they don't feel that way, but I feel like that I'm getting a better understanding than they have, that we can work together to solve some of these things that are smaller too during the course of the year, and not have to wait to hope that, it gets on the list or it makes it and stuff, so I think that's getting better. Anyway, that's my perspective, maybe not to ask them offline, but, so the other thing right below that is, so we talked about, this is our excess from fiscal 2016. And so we had the 455, 446. And if you'll remember when we had the Lion Center floor that we needed to work on, when we came back to the budget amendment, which I think was in June or July of last year, we amended the budget with the idea that we'd be using some of the excess left over from 16. We didn't know what it was at that time. So that's 64,624 that we'll need to use out of that 455. And then a recommendation that I had is I would like to see some contingency left in there, because we do have things during the course of the year, the scrubber, things that, things could go bad, and we don't have any, just a little bit of contingency plan to get these things. And so, that would be my suggestion, is that in the capital project fund, that we just have a line for contingency, that we could buy some of these things out of. And they may not be, it might be something that's $2,500. I think there's another thing, but that's a lot of money for a department to try to come up with during the course of the year when they've already allocated all their money to programs and all that. And then if they have a piece of equipment, large or small, it's kind of hard for them to be able to take care of that. So that's just a suggestion that I had. And then we just have the remaining balance that we'd like to allocate is the 365,822 that we have left. And one of the things that I know that Scott will probably talk a little bit about is the elevator in the library. We know that we'll need some additional funds for that. We just don't know what that'll be right now. So I do know that that's one thing. Did you want to share anything else?
Well, no, just, we'll talk a little bit about elevator tomorrow, but,
Yeah.
so like I said, there's already almost a couple things in line. The reason the elevator needs to be funded is because we have the rent is attached to it, we just can't keep bringing nothing out. And we need to get Sherry where she's at, so, but we'll, like I said, we'll go through the priorities, we'll bring it back to you and say, this is where we're going, this needs to be.
I think it's a good position to be in to even have some. Last year we had 114 and we were dealing with some fund, a little bit of a negative fund balance. We only were able to allocate 60,000 last year to capital. I think Recreation got, Parks and Rec got some, and I think the library got some, and that was it last year. So this will be really good for us to.
And on the agenda, I put on here retaining employees, and we already talked about it, that that's our firefighter, getting their salaries and whatnot. So as we've taken care of public works and police, we're now on fire. This is just an ongoing process of something that we can fund in any given year. We can't do them all at once, and so we just take them kind of one at a time. But that's just a reminder that that's why that firefighter line there is still there.
What's currently in capital projects dollars
How much?
prior to the 455 transfer?
Oh, how much did we have?
I don't know if there's anything.
Last year we had $60,000 that we allocated for parks and the library, and everything else in there. There's some carryover money. A couple of years ago, in the capital equipment, you put $70,000 towards the elevator, but that's not enough. So Sherry has a little bit of money. There's like
Carpet and paint money.
and she has some carpet and paint money that's carryover money from prior years. And then we have the Murdoch Trail maintenance that we owe $18,000, and then they'll do the remainder, so we have money for that. Those are the only things that's in that capital.
So what's the balance?
I can reconcile that, but I can give it to you.
I mean, generally speaking, our capital fund just goes up and down depending on the
Yeah.
funds that we put in it, but whenever we put funds in there, we generally don't have funds that are not allocated. As soon as they go in, we have a project attached to them. If a project comes in under budget, then that money does become available, we'll roll that into whatever is available to go back on the board. But generally speaking, there's just not, every dollar in there is already here.
Allocated.
Sometimes the projects just get carried over.
So theoretically, this is still a balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can get you a reconciliation mirror of what's in there.
We're at the high level, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
We've got 455 listed here, it's got
Yeah.
$1 million request. I want to know if there was anything else in the fund before we got 455. Theoretically, there isn't.
No, just stuff that we've already allocated out in past budgets.
Thank you.
So, one of the things that the mayor requested, and what we talked about, when we went on a ratings trip a couple of weeks ago, one of the questions they asked is if our city council receives a financial update on a timely basis. And I know we have in the past, we've been maybe a little bit of hit and miss with this. So the mayor asked Denise and I to take a look at it. I asked Denise to kind of give us a sample of what one of these things could look like that we would do with you quarterly, and so she's come up with a sample here to see if this is something that works. So that's this page here. We have it, these will explain it.
So, tried to have it be simplified, something that I can do on a monthly basis. It's pretty quick. Scott and I discussed, I think from a general fund perspective, I think monthly,
So general fund monthly, and maybe the
enterprise funds, and then other funds that you decide that we may want to look at. Maybe it's the capital equipment or project that you just discussed, that those we would do maybe quarterly. And but the the general fund, I think it changes, and that's our biggest fund that's moving, and one of the ones that we have the most challenges with that we could do on a monthly basis. So what I did, I didn't do one for each month, but I just did this one as of December 2016. Tried to do it as a one-pager. And
Love it already.
so I put the beginning fund balance at the top. I originally had it at the bottom. This is really simple. This is just but I think it's important to have fund balance on there too, especially in the general fund.
Is this the 3 to 25%?
Yeah, this is the 5 to 25, this
5
number.
to 25.
Yeah, yep, 5 to 25. And when we finished up, I probably ought to calculate the general fund number because in the CAFR, it's 16.26%.
So 2.5 is unrestricted.
Yeah. So,
Unrestricted and not allocated to anything. That's
Is
our
that
rate.
60% down? I thought we were at 18.
no, we've been pretty
We've
much,
been at 16, I think, the last
Yeah,
4 years.
we're just staying between.
So when Dean came in, there was a change in the law, and there was a change in accounting practice in the city. And we went from showing all of this in unrestricted funds to accounting for it differently, and that's why it's 2.5, not, and you know, that percentage of it is not 8,
Yeah.
or
Well,
18 plus.
When Dean and I started, there was more than, technically, plus or was breaking the law. More than 18.
Yeah, and then they moved it to 25.
We had that, our first budget year, where I think we used about 500,000 fund balance to balance our budget that year. Because that was at the low point of the recession, and the next year, our revenues came back to a point where I think it was 2011 budget, we broke even, and then since then, we've seen increases. But it was nice that the previous administration left some money in there, because that, when we say rainy day money, we used it,
Yeah.
because it was a rainy day that year. And since then, we've kept it pretty close to 60. When you look at the top of that, you see the 2.9 million, 2.985. All that is that's the 455 added into the 2.53.
Yeah.
And so that money goes into general fund balance, but we turn around and we pull it out and put it into capital. If we want to, we can leave it in general fund balance and save it for the rainy day, but we have needs today, so we've always just pulled that, whatever we've generated, instead of increasing fund balance, we just pull it back down and use it for capital. So that's been our philosophy the last 7 years anyway. If that's a philosophy change that we want to ever do, that's up to us, but it's kind of hard for us to sit on a ton of fund balance when we know we have stuff we need to get funded. We left it all in there, we have zero for capital and
So I think with this format, I think it would give you enough detail. And like I said, if we did the general fund on a monthly basis, I think that would be good. A lot of the other funds don't have the ups and downs, and you don't have the 60-day revenues that you have in the general fund. You have, sales tax is 60 days, B&C roads is, they're 60 days. Property tax actually isn't 60 days, it's actually, you get a huge distribution in November, and then you get your final in March, so it can be a little bit, some of the other revenues you'll get daily, but property and sales tax, which are our biggest ones, you'll see a little bit of change.
Or we live in unrestricted until that comes in.
Yeah, you figure until you get that big distribution in November. From a cash flow, we're okay because we have the fund balance, but yeah, until those bigger dollars come in.
So that's exactly right, because the cash flow is different than the budget.
Yeah,
So the cash flow is not an issue.
Issue.
We have 2.5 million. But when you look at the budget at any given year, and the year ends, then you kind of reconcile and say, this is where we're at this given time.
Yeah.
But on a cash flow basis, we've never had a problem where it's like we have bills to pay.
Right.
That's because you have unrestricted now.
We have the 2.5, we also have, cash in our other enterprise funds.
So the 2.5, in addition to being rainy day, it's also carrying us till November.
It's the cash flow.
Yeah, it's okay. It helps with your cash flow. And we don't generally do cash flows in the general fund. We just watch it from a bank reconciliation standpoint, but we haven't had those, we don't have those issues.
We've never had a time where it's like, oh, we have payroll, but we just don't have
Yeah.
cash.
Yeah.
It's always.
Question
remember last year, we had the transfer from general fund to class C's of 195, and we went and found additional money last year, and it raised it to 324,620. That was based on budget reductions that we found when we did the budget last year. Yeah.
But was it, I thought that was just one time.
No, that's
It's ongoing. It's budgeted, the numbers that I have forecasting for 18, it's in my numbers also.
Okay, so what about the increase in gas tax?
That's actually comes in its own fund,
So that, yeah, that's.
in Fund 20.
Okay.
And that hasn't been, there's still some issues that you've heard at the legislature that
Well, I
they're
know on
looking
that
at.
sixth draw or whatever, and there was the rural and.
We're still kind of waiting.
Yeah.
Exactly where it's kind of going, but we're getting kind of under.
A little bit out of it. Yeah, looks like it's a little over 100 right now. But that comes in its own fund in the Class C. So this is just a transfer from the general fund to the Class C roads.
Now, that was our understanding. I mean, went through the 130 last year, the understanding, and when I did the road spreadsheet, I put that in, but that would be ongoing year after year after year. So,
It was ongoing.
yeah,
Okay.
I think
So,
that's
yeah.
the
We made a
end.
permanent allocation to roads.
Yes,
Right.
but on a yearly basis, so that 130 doesn't ever come back out into the general fund.
Permanent.
So all this tells us is that we committed $325,000 of general fund money to our roads. That money can be used for anything else in the city that we've said we're committing that out of.
Is that just the one time though? That's the question.
No, that's 325 for every year.
Yeah, it's in my 18 forecast, my budget. Yeah, it is right now.
And do we have a guesstimate at all on the amount?
For Class C. So I looked at it a little bit. Last year we came in at about $1,093,000, and I went and looked at the distributions that we've received to date, and I gave Marty the number of about 1.2.
Yeah.
And I think there's still going to be some changes. We don't know what they are yet. They didn't even give us our June number until November
I know.
during the audit.
Marty tomorrow's going to show us the funding on the
Yeah.
roads and all that stuff will come together.
Yeah, so
He's got a spreadsheet.
that's what we're kind of looking at is about $1.2 million based on the distributions we've received to date.
Okay, thanks. I have a question. When the bond expires in 2018, is that January 2018, December 2018, or when do we get the additional funds from the bond?
I think there's a partial.
There's a partial in
Partial
between.
payment of $5.
No, it's like 570. Yeah, you're just not paying two interest payments. You still have a principal and an interest. It's 538 or
So we'll see the increase in 2018, but when during the year does that increase take effect?
well, you won't see that. You actually won't see that fall off until 19 because you have the partial in 18 in fiscal 18, and then when you do the budget for 19, there will be no debt service on it.
So the actual timing of when we make that payment, because we're looking at things on a yearly basis, so we just take that whatever number, and we say, okay, we know that that's gonna be an expense over the course of that year. And we know that these revenues are coming in, so when we set our budget for the year on what's available for roads, the timing of when that falls off, I don't know if it's necessarily important, because whatever money's available, we know it's gonna be available for that year, will be in the budget and used on the roads.
So from Sue's question, I have the same question. Are you looking at calendar year or fiscal year when you say part of this is coming off of 18?
I'm looking at it in fiscal year.
Fiscal year.
Yeah, that after fiscal year
What
18,
month do you anticipate?
I'm looking to see if I can find it quick.
And then
Yeah, it's just when Marty does his budget on what he's knows to spend,
It's already taken.
he knows that money's gonna have available. So even if it's October or if it's May, it doesn't necessarily matter.
So we could actually plan,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna plan that it's there and we're gonna spend.
and it is restricted to Class C
Mm-hmm.
roads.
Yes.
So it'll be in 2018, about $500,000.
Yeah, when Marty does his spreadsheet,
So, okay.
he's outlined all that, and he shows you when the bond falls off, and he shows you the side.
And then in 2019, they'll go to the full, was it 1 million, 1.2 million?
Yeah, the 1.2.
1.2.
Well, that's what we're estimating.
So in
That's gonna be a good day.
in 18, I show that so in 17, the year that we're in right now, our debt service is $770,000. Let's just call it. And in 18, it's 558,000. So in 18, you notice it falling off, and then in 19, you won't have any. I'm seeing if I can find it.
200,000.
Yeah, 200 something.
It'll reduce in 2018 and before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's in addition to the 324.
And, yeah, and then the 1.2.
So we're looking at an additional 500 in 18 that you were planning for. And then the following year, we're looking at
Well, it's an additional, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So when we get to 19, our full, without a road fee or anything like that, we're about 1.5 million in dedicated funds.
Yeah.
You got a good question, Denise. When did the, intergovernmental revenue fund, that one dropped by about 60%. What is that one?
The intergovernmental revenue, the problem that you have with that is that you'll have grants come in during the year, and I only budget for 2 grants. The liquor fund grant and the VAWA grant, because those are ones that I know that we're going to get.
Yes.
Yeah, or the beer, whatever you call it. But
The
in
more we
the,
drink, the more we get.
but in the course of the year,
We're not taking advantage.
in the course of the year, fire may get a grant, police may get a grant, or Sherry got a very large technology grant. And so when those come in, we go increase revenue so that they can spend it from a budget, and we increase their budget line so they can spend it. So those are actual numbers after those other ones. So the only 2 I'm budgeting for is the liquor grant and the VAWA grant. And so then, like I said, Sherry, I think, had an $8,000 technology grant. But you can't guarantee that you're gonna get those grants. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. So that's what'll make up the biggest difference there.
So there's one of the tricky things, and we're already seeing this on a monthly report, is these numbers, sometimes it's when the revenues come in, or sometimes
Yeah.
inconsistent, sometimes how the money's spent is inconsistent. So when you take a snapshot at any given time, sometimes you look through that and says, something's not computing there. So Denise can answer those questions. I mean, it's our responsibility to make sure that the council has this, so you can ask the questions. It's just that sometimes you'll see some things, this doesn't seem to make sense. By the time the budget year's over, it all makes sense. But the intergovernmental's a good one, it's the grants come in, we put it in there, and then we see that line item grow, but it's inconsistent sometimes.
That's why I think from a monthly basis for general fund, it would be good, because you have all those type of things going on. And then once we get the format, like this took me, I don't know, a couple hours the other day, but once it'll be really quick for me to be going in and putting those numbers and stuff like that. That $530,000.
I think Diana has a question.
Okay, I'm so ADD that if I don't say it, I don't blurt it out, I will forget it. Just something on the projected projects in waiting. I think it would just be nice to have just a one sheet of, projects that the department heads have determined are needs, so that, we can also see, this is what's actual, but, so what is coming? What are we at catastrophic pending? It was
Why is that number so big? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying, just so that we understand what the department heads are seeing. I know that you're doing a great job at having that conversation among.
You want to know what they're going without, depending on.
Are you talking about capital or expense budget?
I'm talking about, either operating or capital.
Because that was in the past, don't you provide us with a list of projects that they're prioritized, and we're drawing a line, we're saying these are going to be funded, and these aren't?
Generally, something like that. It's changed a little bit. I mean, last year there was $60,000, so it was pretty quick on how to figure out.
There was still a list.
So I know that that I understand completely that the department heads are determining which ones are those.
We're
I
right.
just think for us as council, it would just be nice to know, these are projects that the department heads have deemed as needs. Not
So-
that
a 5-year for utility funds. Like Marty has a 5-year plan for stormwater, sewer, and water. And, but maybe we could start working on that from our general fund
We could
perspective.
do a 5-year capital,
Yeah,
which shouldn't be too hard.
yeah, that, we can just put it in the same format and do that.
Yeah, which is, it's good to have fun. The fun thing sometimes about capital is our needs do change on a
Yeah.
yearly basis, but to have a 5-year plan, that's not bad.
No.
Okay, thank you.
So back to the roads, I found the schedule. We have a debt service payment, we have an interest payment due July 15th of 2017 of $13,250.
That's right at the beginning.
And then in January of 2018, January 15th of 2018, we have an interest and principal payment of $143,250, and then the debt's gone for that road.
It's wiped out.
Okay.
It's wiped out
that-
for-
Can we have a party?
Sure.
Yep, so January 16th.
Yeah, you guys have a party.
Oh, yeah. As
January
we're going
15th.
out,
You can have a party when you all assemble next year right here.
that will be our final, we'll see ya.
So yeah, it falls off in January of 18, so in our FY 18.
I was like, include myself in that.
So you've already included well, you're not even looking at 19, but how much of this have you included in 18?
How much?
Payments are in there.
The payment's in there, yeah. In 18, I already have that lesser
So
payment.
it hasn't changed our available funds to work on roads.
It
Not-
does in 18, doesn't it?
It does in 18 a little bit, yeah. Like I'm
We have a
looking.
little bit more.
Yeah, you'll have a little.
Marty's spreadsheet tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, he was gonna try to revamp it with the idea that we get the 1.2, and with those things. So I don't know, you guys can, I mean, if you wanna think about,
Oh, that's a little backwards, okay.
so, I mean, if you guys wanna look at this a little bit, get a
I
feel
love it.
for how useful it is, and we can give it a try for a couple months, and then,
Yes.
So on this agenda item, I want to start off by saying, when you sit in front of Standard & Poor's, and you have two analysts across the table that meet with I don't know how many hundreds of cities and businesses per year, and you've got Denise on one side of you and Scott on the other, and these guys are firing questions to find the holes, and these guys are already answering the questions before they fire the questions to answer the questions. That meeting only took an hour, and these two were impressive. From an administrative standpoint and from a financial standpoint, they nailed it, and that's why we came up with the rating we did this year. So what stuck in my craw at the meeting was a question came from one of the analysts. He said, how often does the city council review the budget and changes to the budget? Well, we know we do the periodic adjustments to the budget when we do amendments, but how often are we actually looking at the budget to see what on a cash flow basis or an expense basis, how often are we looking at this to see where are we, and do we understand it? I tried this before, and it kind of just died. Nobody was looking at the information. When I came back, I noticed there wasn't a report going. I asked for one, but they never really got there. And this time, Denise has responded within 1 week. 1 week, she's got this.
It was 10 days.
10 days. 10 days plus a holiday.
That's the weekend.
She comes back with this, what looks like, would you call this a cash flow basis? I don't know, what do you?
No, this is more budget based.
I'd say budget basis, yeah.
To kind of give us an idea of what we're looking at, and we as a council can understand this. We got a pretty good handle on the general fund of the city. It would be helpful later, like you said, once we understand this, to look at the enterprise funds,
Yeah.
which they're kind of self-managing and separate. But then when you talk about funds, privately or in public, all of this question about
We do have Strawberry Days Association coming at 1 o'clock for that discussion. I scheduled an hour for lunch. I don't know if we need an hour for lunch, but we can, if we want to start doing a couple of these others while we're waiting for lunch, we can start on the afternoon.
Yeah, let's do it.
And stay at home.
Why don't you give us the economic development?
Okay. So, we had a conference call with John Hamilton probably about 10 days ago. Ian was there and Tina to get an update as to where they're at with their litigation and a few other things. Tina just everything's wrong with them, but they had a win in their as far as the guy that's claiming right of first refusal, the judge found in the favor of cannabis, which is one of the, I think the largest, biggest outstanding issue still in conflict between cannabis and this guy that's suing him. Now, Hamilton said the guy's appealing, so of course, I mean, it's going to kind of carry those things on. But that was encouraging that that is happening. I think that works in our favor. The main reason we were having a discussion with him is we do have a second hotel that wants to come in on the St. John's properties, on the property adjoining the Hammond's property. They have requested, they know that our contract with Hammond says that Hammond needs to deliver a full-service hotel, a convention center, also a second limited service hotel, and 2 national chain restaurants. So this other hotel company was requesting that maybe they could take over that second limited service hotel that Hammond is required to have. So we floated that to Hammond's, you know, are you willing to let this other company, in essence, take that responsibility away from you? And they said, we need to contemplate it for a little bit, and we'll get back to you. They were familiar with the company name, their attorney, and this other hotel attorney, legal counsel, they know each other. So they were actually a little bit more up to date on kind of what was going on, maybe than what I thought.
How much of what you just described is already in the public?
I think everything that I've said, I think is okay to be in the public. So there's, so that discussion is ongoing as far as that's concerned. So there's, as far as, you know, are they going to build, or when are they going to build, they still don't have a timeline on that. The discussions regarding this second hotel, those discussions are ongoing. So, but we still haven't discussed publicly the name of the company, the second company that wants to do the hotel. But I've talked with them, and I've talked with Daniel, and Daniel's, St. John Properties is under contract with this other company. The contract just got signed last week. But this company now has 6 months kind of due diligence to decide for sure whether they're going to build or not. So there's a few moving parts with all that, and that kind of gets down to the limited service hotel in Moore area as well. Those things are kind of intertwined. But that's the things to do. My gut tells me that this company wants to do the limited service hotel is probably going to build, regardless of what happens. But I hope that's the case.
That's my good.
Because we don't know, I mean, Hammond's is still in unknown as far as what's actually going to be built.
Well, projection-wise, though, with your understanding of process on the deal, when do you think the resolution to the legal question is?
Oh, it's a long way away.
Is it next year?
Yeah, at the
Calendar?
earliest, you would get a decision on the appeal on the court's ruling about the right of first refusal. As far as the whole bankruptcy case
No,
goes,
just the
yeah.
beginning part.
I think you'll be looking next year. But also I was gonna mention, that we did get their, this spec of the next 6 months budget in their bankruptcy estate, and both of our, bond payments, their payments to us are in there.
Was it the full year's budget? Wasn't it the full year?
Well, yeah.
Because both our payments are in there.
Both of our payments are in there.
There's a whole one in June, one in December.
Yeah. So as far as the next budget year, they've been approved to spend those funds out of the bankruptcy estate to make those payments.
When does the current agreement expire?
January 1st of 2018 is their
I mean, the litigation is just a terrible, terrible process. I guess that's why those people need to pay money to wait for that.
The only winners are the lawyers.
Yes. It just takes time, and so we've been saying this for 7 years now, and about 10 years, whatever we initially signed the agreement. But, I mean, I feel positive the direction we're going. The one thing that I didn't want to lose was the second hotel that this company wants to do, and they're very well aware of the HAMS agreement. And, so they have concerns with that, but I think for the most part, we're going to go through it. So Daniel's been great. I mean, he's the one that initially recruited them to his land. We met with them at ICSC last year when we were down there. They came for our Economic Development Summit. I probably talked to their contact back probably every 3 weeks and just touch base on all that. So last I talked with them, they signed the agreement and they just broke it this week. So, any questions on HAMS? I think really our next trigger point, decision-making point is going to be July 1. And we'll have to have probably a pretty tough discussion at that point as to how we want to proceed. Valley Grove Tower, I talked with Daniel the other day. As far as the single-story office, he's expecting full occupancy by the mid-summer. He's already has one of his buildings occupied. He's moving his offices. He's moved his offices. They're now down here in Pleasant Grove. And then this infrastructure, this is who's moving into the Grove Tower. They're moving into one of the buildings temporarily until the Grove Tower is built. He's expecting the Grove Tower to be ready to be occupied for infrastructure by January 1, 2018, which that's pretty. So we'll see how that plays out.
Good grief, really?
Yeah, that's what he told me. So.
So Scott, that tenant name is now public domain.
Yes, they've made, the company has made, some other press release saying we're going to go.
We got something on the other side.
Yeah, so he didn't have an update really on the other 4 floors as far as tenants are concerned. I mean, he still has time to get that figured out. What we're going to see here pretty soon is a 6-story tower with no roof over here this summer, and that's going to be a pretty cool sight.
Scott, the 2 water districts in the town already come through.
So the county, yes. Well, I've sent it to the attorney to have them sign. I'm assuming that's not going to be a problem. Last I talked with Randy, he was working on the agenda. Let's see. The Void, Evermore Gardens, and the Grid. So the Void's the virtual reality. Evermore Gardens is the garden space that our center wants to do. And then the Grid is kind of a high-end go-kart track of some sort. The Void and Evermore Gardens have plan approvals. They have site plan approvals on our end. They've had pre-construction meetings with our staff. I think Marty told me they have submitted a building permit. Does that sound consistent? And we're doing some kind of final reviews on that. So I think we'll see some digging from those guys here pretty soon.
On the grid, is that in your,
I thought it was indoor.
It will be closed through the very heavy part of it.
So today, probably not.
Don't give me, he's just handsome.
Yes. the hotel company wants to go quick as well, or they want to get going sometime this summer, so.
Are the hotel projects aware of each other?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and that's why our one that we've been talking with for a year now, they're a little more inclined to get going, so they can kind of get to the market here sooner rather than later.
Is the product the same?
I don't know any details on the campus center. Well, it's not Ken anymore. GBR Capital bought the land.
John?
Yeah, no regard. And so GBR Capital is the one that's now working, that is sold the property to the hotel. So I don't know the plan. Have you? So I haven't heard. It's not going to be a full service. It'll be a limited service, but there's only one full service hotel in the county. But there's trouble there.
Right.
So anyway, I think all the things have been holding for a long time, they're starting to happen. So with Grove Tower, and I forgot to mention, the Valley Grove, Daniel says that, two of the retail buildings he's gonna start constructing, he expects both those to be, ready by the fall. I don't think he has tenants yet, but he's gonna start building those buildings.
I think that the steakhouse also, there was a steakhouse on the east side also that was, I think that was,
Steakhouse with, what property?
over by the, proposed hotel.
I think they've got a barbecue joint they're talking to. Okay?
So he told us, steakhouse.
Okay.
Well,
Now,
he
the
considers
steakhouse
steakhouse barbecue.
I guess a cow is a cow, right?
I think it's fair to say they do not have a letter of intent right now, but I think they're talking to different places, so.
Okay.
I don't,
I heard otherwise.
He hasn't made any announcements. He told me last week that he's gonna have some coming up, but I haven't heard anything.
so anyway, that's good news out in the Grove, and then ASEA, if you see them by Central Bank, they've got their walls up, and they're cruising along, they want to be occupied by this summer, so.
Did I see the Void, taking over the old Noah's
The board,
building? Did anybody see, the old Noah's building, the Forever
Oh,
Green was
yes.
on and the Void was up?
I think they moved their Linden operation to.
Oh, really?
Canada? Oh, that's pretty. It's Linden, that's close by.
Yeah, Linden to Linden.
So where did Forever Green go?
Yeah,
To
what's
the,
that?
All right, so things are hopping on those items. And-
Yeah, so that's really, any other questions that economic development wise? We've had our, discussions with the kind of the higher end grocery store that I think most of you are aware of. That's just totally installed out at this point, there's no news to report on that. I would say it maybe has a little bit of a heartbeat, but,
Well, the one property that was involved in the Justin Johnson property, they're moving forward with their site.
yeah, and they said that they're gonna keep moving as far as they can, and then if there's something that can happen last minute, they're willing to talk, they're just not gonna wait.
All right, so we have a lunch scheduled for an hour. I'm not sure that we're all going to take an hour to eat, but let's get the sugar going in our bodies first before we decide to jump back in, and then we can continue on.
Yeah, what we'll do is we can do some other research.
Yeah, some of the subjects don't look like they're pre-lunch or during lunch.